Well, as many of you know, if you've seen my content before, that I'm pretty much a Rode guy. I'm all about the Rode mics and some of the peripherals as well. But there's plenty of other brands out there in terms of mics themselves, accessories like stands, and arms, and cables, and interfaces, different things. So a very well-known brand in the creator space, of course, is Elgato. And so today I've got to unbox the Elgato Wave Desk Stand. So this is like a desk mic stand. You can mount a microphone to it by the thread and have it all sitting. You can see there's a bit of an example in the image there. And it says it's compatible with popular microphones. So we're going to open the box and see what we get in the box and how it's all set up and see if it suits many common use cases. First thing I can say about it, though, it is hefty. Because any of these desk mic stands, this base is going to be like fully metal. So let's have a look at the box real quick. Where's my glasses? It alleges that in this box it will include the Wave Desk Stand itself, some 4 cable ties, some thread adapters, because obviously there's different threads depending on the mic you use, a hex key, and a quick start guide. And the maximum load that you can put on here is up to 1 kilo of microphones. And they do give us a bit of a design demo selling point of how that can look with one of the Elgato mics in there. In the back they've got like a Shure SM7B. So there's different ways you can set these up. But let's find out now. The interesting thing about this is that Elgato's got like a pull tab. So this is an unopened box from Elgato. The way it's put together, it doesn't have like a pop-out seal. You have to pull the pull tab. I haven't seen this on too many products. I think Rode has this on some of their inner boxes, but not on their outer box on some of their products. Now, it's not going to tear unless we get the whole piece of cardboard up, so... Okay. The rip pull isn't as straightforward as you'd think it would be. It's sort of not coming up. So this could be just a cardboard box design flaw for this particular product, or maybe from their supplier, but we'll get it up. There we go. And a little tag there, if you can notice that, says greatness starts now. So this is going to open. Are we ready? Here we go. I'm going to fold that over. I'm just going to drag that down a little bit. There we go, not too much. And of course the aforementioned user guide, setup guide, spec guide here with all. This is pretty cool. These are humongous pictures, so the diagrams don't dilly-dally. The backside is all your specifications and everything in different languages. Of course, this is from Elgato. Elgato do make low-profile arms for mics, the regular sort of scissor mic arms. But this is, of course, the desk stand version, which is just standalone, so you can pick it up and move it and all that. So it's giving us some instructions there, which aren't going to be relevant until we get the rest of the box open. Now I can see there's a cardboard area here with little holes, so something comes out of here, and I think this is the box with stuff in it. And then underneath, of course, is the heavy base, and you could use that as your weights training. That is hefty, and I understand why that needs to be for holding heavy mics you don't want tipping over. There is a rubber base on this, so that's going to help stop it like sliding on your desk. If you've got a desk pad or you're on like a melamine or a wood surface, that's going to hopefully grip. That is hefty, so I'm going to put that down. There's that's a tray it comes in, nothing else in the box. Everything else we're going to look at is going to be out of this accessory box, which is going to be the rest of the arm and different things. Looks like it opens from the side, so I'm going to try and show that from above. Or maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure how this comes apart. Well, maybe it doesn't. There's a couple of pop-outs at the front here. Here we go. Let's do it this way instead. Okay, it pops out. Got it. Gotcha. Both sides come out. Here we go. It's the right one that's being stubborn. So it pops out 3 ways and then folds out So we can technically maybe even just leave that sitting in the box so we can see it. Okay, we've got the main arm. Now it does have a scissor action, as you can see. And there's more. There's an accessory pouch here. We're going to get this out. This is interesting. It's all in a package, and now it's not in a... Like most everything that I've opened so far on these sorts of reviews, they come in like a clear plastic bag. This is a paper bag with an Elgato sort of seal on it. This is going to be interesting. We're going to crack that open first. There's nothing else in this box. This is all empty. So let's ditch all the boxes and then have a look at what we've got sitting on the desk. I'm going to try and break it through the seal here so we keep the bag more or less intact, because I don't want to have stuff go everywhere. So we can break the seal. Yep, and then there's an existing paper bag that's open with a number of items. We're gonna likely do some assembly here on camera. These are the rubber. These are rubber, so you can see stretchy. They'll wrap around like a cable tie. So there's 4 of those. We're going to move those over to the top here. The Allen key. These 2 bolts, which I think is what's going to go in these 2 holes here. And we've got the threads to put the microphone on. That's going to be dependent on the microphone. So it looks like we need to look at the instructions. So we've got some specifications here. We're going to skip that to the setup. So it says here, not to over tighten. Basically, we need to turn this over. And from the top side, that's the top. They've got to go in there. Now, the holes don't allow you to put it the other way. There's a slight difference in the size of the hole from the top end. And so this is going to be tricky to put together here. So I'm going to try and see if we can do this and get this done. And I think these are both identical. I think there's different sizes there. We want to hand thread these as much as possible before we go to the Allen key. Now, one thing I could do, but I don't have it here with me, is use my LTT screwdriver, but I don't have that here with me right now. But we've got the Allen key. Now I'm going to try and, as I say, hand tighten these. Let me get this in the camera view a little bit more. Because they're so close together, they start to get a bit awkward really quickly. So what I'm going to do is just put the short end in, use the long end just to start to tighten that down. Do the same for the other side until we start to get a little bit more grab. Well, that went in a lot further. That's because the angle I had these sitting at was a bit funny. I just needed to turn this on its angle a little bit more just to get a better grab. Okay. At this point, I'm going to turn it upright a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. This is not to over tighten, so you want to get it to so it gets to the point of being tight. At the same time, you don't want the arm to be loose, so you just want it to be grabbing, so there doesn't seem to be any movement in that. This is not to over tighten, but I just want to make sure that they're both roughly the same. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, we'll have a quick look at the manual. This is the cable management. You can use 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. There is no other holes to run cables through, so it's good that they supplied these in terms of having something to run the cables with. Now, to adjust the arm, you've got this loosen. It's just a basic lever locking mechanism, which is good because then you don't have to keep fiddling around with the likes of an Allen key, because that can get a little bit tricky. So when mounting our microphones, Now there's a swivel left and right, which is not, I don't know if that gets tight. Oh yeah, when I tighten that up, it tightens the sideways swivel and the up and down swivel. So depending on the type of microphone is how I'm going to mount that. There's a basic thread, so if you've got like a webcam or something, you could potentially just thread it on that. But also, you've got it, you can put this one on to give it a microphone with a, let's have a look. I'm not sure which one I'm going to need for what I'm using, because some mics, for example, I've got a I got the Firephone here. Now it comes with its own like version of this, which is going to get us exact same. So I could technically probably get this mounting on here. Is that right? Let's have a look. Yeah, so that'll go on there. But if the Firephone didn't have, I know I'm repeating myself. Okay, the thing is, when I was shredding, now that I'm turning this, it's all grabbing in different places, so they're all both coming loose. So if I didn't have this with the Firephone, then what I would do is have that go on there, and then have that go on over top, and then it's sort of stopping. I'm not sure if that's because I've got it upside down. Okay, that seems to stop there, and I'm not sure why. So basically it takes 3 different sizes, either way. Yeah, that only screws onto there, which I'm not sure why. Whereas when I have this in here, it seems to go on a decent way. And probably for this, I want it hanging down. So that's all good too. So I'm going to put this mic on because we need a demo mic. This is what we're here. So this is going to go on very easily, and then I've got a number of adjustments to do, because I can, first of all, okay, we've got some limitations, but the Firephone itself has its own angle. So what I want to do first of all is maybe lock this arm in. This is the dodgiest looking part of this whole thing. Everything else in this is pretty sturdy, but I'm really not sure about this particular design of this locking mechanism. Now that mic's super low, so I'm probably, let me turn that I'll hold it up to the main camera here. So that's sort of what we're looking at there. That's way too low. If that's the desk there, that's way too low. So it's probably a good idea to maybe run it sort of this way, and obviously I've got an adjustment up and down, and fortunately, okay, that Firephone's so loose, and I can adjust the Firephone up and down on its own. But the problem I'm having here is, what if I need this pointing sort of more or less like straight out. Like right now you can see that's sort of on a weird angle. So we have some limitations in the way that this can go on. If you go to tight, then it might be pointing in the wrong angle, but then otherwise you've got it loose on here. So there's some things we probably need to do. So this could be, I don't know if this is a design issue with the Elgato, or whether that's something I can change based on maybe how I put this on. Okay, I think I figured it out. This thing is a thing that this is the tightener here, this nut here. Let me just turn that on angle this. So if I have it on all the way, then this doesn't do any tightening, it just sort of, that's the limit. What I want to do is get it in the angle and then tighten it up to there to lock it in place. So that's what we probably need to do. So the better way to do this then probably would be to add that thread to the Firefine, so that's all locked in place. Obviously, if you get it too tight, you can grab a screwdriver and lock that on. But then we want to screw the whole unit on and get it to a spot where I want it. What I want to do is get it down to roughly maybe there, and then tighten that up to tighten it in place. So that's how you do it. But then this could be too high the way that the Firefine design is. So that could be too high. Like where I am now, if I was speaking to this, it would actually be pretty good. The top-down view doesn't give it justice because we're way up too close with the Firefine. Because the Firefine has this thing, you're technically supposed to have it hanging down. So let's try it that way for a second. And then, of course, what we can do is bring this up a whole lot higher. Now, that's a limitation on how far that can go down, but then we can use the Firefine to angle it down like that. So what we can do is just lock that in there, and then use the Firefine to and the tightening ring on the Elgato and the Firefine angler to get the angle we want, and then lock it in. So yeah, so obviously you have to adapt that to the microphone you have. You might be putting a more basic microphone, maybe using a Rode pod mic, maybe using like a Rode a podcast or an SM7B. Okay, now the bass is here. That's pretty solid. Like I'm not easily going to knock that over. That is, I have to like apply some effort. Obviously, if I'm moving it, I'm grabbing it there, picking it up. It is starting to get a little bit front heavy because of the microphone, but obviously the bass, if I'm balancing at the back of the bass, and the whole weight of the bass is pulling me forward as well. So I can just pick that up and shuffle it to where I want. Once it's in place, it's not going to get budged easily. Obviously, you might pick up some noise on the microphone if you bump it. That's just the nature of microphones. The stands don't absorb all the shock. Even the shock mount on this particular, on the Firefine, won't absorb everything. It will help a little bit. But that seems to be like a reasonable setup for how I want to get that. Now, if I'm sitting at a desk, so I'm going to sit high, I'm probably down here more. So that's not too bad. I can just fine-tune adjust it for how I'm going to use it. Now, the cable. I have a 3-meter cable here. Some of you may have even seen me unbox this cable. We will check that out in a second. But we just want to quickly plug it in the back. And then what I want to do is figure out. Now I think the way this is, the way that this is hanging, I'm probably just going to maybe hold it to the lower arm. I'm not going to go up and over because it's going to be like a little bit awkward. Let me pull that back into the shot here. That's going to be awkward around on there, so I'm just going to let it go down to there, and then hold that. Let's try these rubber bands. Okay, seems like it's like a stretchy thing, so you get it in place, you stretch it, and it's on. We'll put one more on for good measure. We'll try and go the same way so it's easier. So now I've got that reasonably tight. That's actually so tight that I can't adjust the cable. So I want to probably fine tune that. But that's sort of how the cable ties work there. It's rubber, and so it stretches around, locks in place with the little rubber knob. Actually, let me show you the rubber knob there. This is sort of how I've done it there. Bring it up to the camera. So there, but they'll come off quickly to adjust. So that's like straight off to adjust. So what I can do then is give myself a little bit more leeway on the cable, which is my only main concern with this. And then I can come back around and lock it in place. I think that's locked in place. I can't feel it. I need to see it. No, it's not. Okay, now it is. There we go. So we've got like a working mic stand there now with the mic I happen to have here handy, the Firefine, and the Elgato desk stand. Now I do like the weight on that, in that that's not going to move anytime soon. I think it's a solid option. I think in comparison to the similar one from Rode, where you have an adjustable arm instead of being the straight stick. Rode has the DS1, which is just a round base with a straight stick, adjustable height, and that's it. The DS2 of theirs, it has a similar system where there's a adjustable arm that goes up and then out, and then you can adjust the angles and stuff. So similar thing, but the Elgato does tend to come in, where I've seen it at least, at a lower price point. So, and then some people do regard the Elgato desk, the Wave Desk Stand, as a better overall option. I can't attest to that yet because I haven't tried the DS2 from Rode, but that is something that would be a very fair comparison or alternative device. So if you want to check that out, let me know if you maybe want to see that particular review, and then therefore a comparison once I get both, maybe a little bit down the road, because that's not supposed to be a pun.